King as we welcome you back to Austin, Texas for Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines. And our score at the intermission, Texas 27 and Kansas 6. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, welcoming you back to the state capital of Texas. You know, at halftime, all the conversations is that actually KU had been there and had been playing really well, and like the last 5 or 6 minutes kind of let it go.
You started to see the Texas offense that we thought we were going to see back at the beginning of the season, moving the ball around. 18 for 22 for Colt McCoy. It was interesting what Mac said to Shelley on the way out. Don't worry about the rushing yards. Just keep scoring. And when you have a quarterback that's playing at this level, you'd love to have it. Don't get me wrong. But you don't really have to.
He's hot.
Yeah, just keep riding this guy.
So Brandstetter prepares to kick it off, and we are underway in the third quarter. Marquise Goodwin. Going to be hit at the 37-yard line. A good job of protecting the football. Time now, let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary halftime stats.
Well, a lot of it is the intermediate passing game for Texas. Remember Goodwin on that wide receiver screen, and then Shipley on that short drag route that he takes for a touchdown. 192 of their 238 passing yards after the catch. And that's, I think, why Mac Brown is okay with what they're doing, not having really a running game to go to right now.
Faked it to Newton, gets it out to Kirkendall, and Kirkendall will have a gain of about 6 on the play.
And for Texas in that second quarter, after the slow start, they really settled in. And I think you can't overstate how much emotion was in this building before the game with Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley in this fine senior class playing their last game. They really settled in nicely and got in a groove.
McCoy keeps it, and he may have the first down. Colt looked as though he came down right upon our yellow line. Darrell Stuckey was there to put a stop on him. Malcolm Williams again with a decent block on the play, trying to help out his quarterback. And they do move the chain, so it's a first down Texas, and officially at the 48-yard line. Newton going to have 5 on the play. Onyebule making the stop. He is a senior out of Arlington, Texas, 6'5", 258 pounds.
And here's a guy that we've seen enough of Kansas this year to know what type of athlete he is. 6'5", as you said. He's a long athlete, has 2 touchdowns on the year. I think this is a guy who, when he gets to go to the combine and all those senior testing days, he's going to get a real nice look at the next level.
Newton again. Newton puts a shoulder down, puts a head down. First down Texas. Drew Dudley comes over to make the tackle, but not before. Well, let's see where they spot it officially. Official looking back. No, that's Texas right back of the line of scrimmage, and Colt McCoy with a quarterback sneak, and this will pick up the first down. Chris Hall, the center, led the way.
And Hall, one of the seniors playing his last game, has started every position of the offensive line.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
Both tackles, both guards, and center.
Charlie Tanner, the left guard, another senior. Adam Ulatowski, the left tackle, another senior. 3 seniors on this offensive line, and it's no wonder why they've been able to put together a pretty good offense in the latter half of the season.
Well, this is Newton, and this time he's going to be stopped at the line of scrimmage. Jeff Wheeler there to make the tackle. Ulatowski, for all intent and purposes, has been a 4-year starter. Got his degree last year and is working on his master's degree in advertising. 6'6", 310-pound senior.
Actually signed in 2004, so he's not a part of this 5th-year senior class. Did not enroll, had a back injury, so he was a late enrollee.
McCoy got it complete at the 37. And now will be third down and about 5. And Shipley very slow in getting up.
Well, and that was, it looked to me like at the end of the play, Chris Harris was coming in to finish it off and maybe hit him in the head. And Shipley was hit last week against Baylor in the midsection, slow to get up. So that's 2 weeks in a row where he's.
But they're going to send him right back out there.
tape an aspirin to it. Get back out there.
Colt McCoy now 20 of 24 for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Blitz coming right up the middle. McCoy tries to get away from it. He does. Now throws, and the ball is overthrown. Onyebule again applying pressure coming off the edge. And that is the note that I have on my pad, and it says passing situation very good.
And now you're in that situation. I think you're a little outside of Hunter Lawrence's range. So going for it on 4th down. Watch Shipley to the right in the slot. He's usually a guy. Remember that drag route he ran earlier for the touchdown. Wouldn't be surprised.
It's going to be a pooch kick by McCoy. And it's going to go dead at around the 12-yard line. So we'll take a timeout. 11:18 left, 3rd quarter, and our score remains 27-6, Texas. Well, what you're looking at is the Coach's Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper, which will go to the winner of the BCS Championship game. And, of course, that is at the Rose Bowl on January the 7th.
Well, these people know what that trophy means. This guy really doesn't care very much. Well, we saw Colt McCoy come off the field hot. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive linemen. 5 guys coming in, 5 offensive linemen, and Kyle Hicks, the right tackle, just totally blew his assignment, came down and left Onyebule unblocked, and McCoy was hot coming off the sidelines. You can't blow a protection like that. You've got a veteran offensive line. You cannot make that mistake and let somebody run free.
Reesing 15 of 26, 115 yards, and he has been sacked 4 times. Raises up and throws. It's Kerry Meyer. 15, 20. And rolled out of bounds after enough yardage, I believe, to pick up the first down at the 23. Sergio Kendall made the stop.
Well, I'm sure that Mack Brown is not very happy that that trophy is in the building, because he is doing everything he can to get his guys to stay focused. And this senior class, the 5th-year seniors, remember 2005 well, when they went all the way and won the championship. And they're using that to understand how you have to focus if you want to go all the way to the promised land.
On first down, this one thrown complete, and that's tight end Berry. Tim Berry, sophomore out of Omaha.
And right now, it looks like Todd Reesing getting into a nice little rhythm. They're not out of this. So you get down there, cut it to a 2-touchdown game, and see what happens. You've already got 1 turnover from Colt McCoy. Maybe get another one. Rip one out of one of those young running backs. See what happens.
Reesing, did he hold on? Pass gathered, I believe, by Berry, and yeah, he did. He made the catch.
That's 2 really nice catches so far tonight by Berry. There was one earlier in the game where he had to reach out for it. Reesing throwing that one low and away because of the coverage, and the 6'4", 250-pound tight end making another nice play for his quarterback.
So they move the sticks. First down at the 35-yard line, about to go under 10 minutes to play 3rd quarter. That pass thrown low, and it was caught by Briscoe. So low and away is the pass. Is the passing chart right now.
Give me the heat. Yeah. Low and outside. Well, and they're not inaccurate throws. Reesing struggled with some accuracy from the pocket earlier in the first half, but the defender's over the inside shoulder of both of those guys, so that's where you have to put it. Maybe up just a touch, but that's where it's got to go.
2nd down and short. And in this series right here, Kansas playing in front of the sticks. Good job of protection, far sideline. The ball is caught at the 30-yard line. Desmond Briscoe, and Briscoe finally is stopped at around the 20. Blake Gideon finally stopped him, 38 yards.
And you're going to see why Desmond Briscoe has so much upside as Kansas rushes up to the line of scrimmage. They may go fast here, but watch the fighting out here by Briscoe. Does a wonderful job getting by Curtis Brown and making a play. He's got a lot of talent, this young man.
Reesing on this drive is 5 of 5. Pressure coming off the edge. Pass is caught. That's McDougal, and he will take it down to the 2-yard line. Bradley McDougal, a freshman out of Dublin, Ohio. Ohio State wanted him, but not as a wide receiver. They wanted him as a defensive back.
And McDougal, as Jake Sharp comes back in, down on the goal line, the beneficiary of a good pickup by the offensive line. Will Muschamp brought pressure. Sal Capra, the left guard, did a nice job of picking it up and gave Reesing time for a long developing route.
Reesing with an audible, coming back to the line, then will back off. Sharp, left side, touchdown Kansas.
What a nice start to the second half for Kansas. Tough week for Mark Mangino, under investigation for how he's treated players this season and in the past. Allegedly poking one of his players in the chest before the Colorado game, doing everything they can to keep people focused and getting an assist from his quarterback, Todd Reesing, who did a lot of that himself.
Extra point attempt by Brandstetter right down the middle. Let's take a timeout. 8:10 remaining, third quarter, and our new score is Texas 27 and Kansas 13. One more look. Jake Sharp, the senior out of Salina, Kansas, scores the touchdown. Well, do some soul searching at the Capitol Saddlery of downtown Austin. And from boot repairs to custom saddles and boots, yeehaw! This man right here was overheard to be saying, I'm not really sure I want boots. I think I'm looking for something in a Western sandal.
He didn't look like a buyer. He looked like a shopper to me. You send your salesman away from...
You know it every time, don't
salesman just sitting in their chair and waiting for a guy like that.
Got their hand on their wallet.
Nice start for Kansas now. They need their defense to come out and see if they can't get another stop.
Brandstetter kicks this one away, but it's a short spinner at the 13-yard line. This is Goodwin. Marquise Goodwin tries to get outside. Knocked down at the 31. Shelley Smith, let's check down on the sideline with you.
Mark Mangino told me as we walked out from the locker room, and it's somewhat symbolic because of the trouble he's gone through this week off the field. He said he told his team that sometimes in life and in football, you might feel like you're outmanned, but you got to fight. He said he told them we've got a lot of fight left in us, and they showed it on that first drive, 88 yards.
Yeah, they sure did. And I think, we'll double check it, but Reesing, I'm almost sure, was perfect on the drive. 6 for 6. Gonna go on top. Got him out there. There's Malcolm Williams. Goodbye. Well, we told you last year out on the South Plain in Lubbock, he had 162 yards and 2 long-distance touchdowns, and it's hard to believe because you look at his size, almost 6'4", and actually now is up to around 227, Max said yesterday, and he possesses speed that is...
Yeah, he ran away from Darrell Stuckey there after he caught that ball, didn't he?
Yep, he has sprinter speed for that kind of size is really something. Well, as we go to break, Hunter Lawrence knocked home the extra point, and here's one more look at Malcolm Williams, sophomore out of Garland, Texas. You can see how far behind the defenders are, and they're not going to catch him. We'll take a break. Texas 34-13. And we are back in a little celebration on the sideline by the cheerleaders for Texas. And welcome back to college football presented by Southwest Airlines, where the score is now 34 Texas and 13 for Kansas.
You have to start thinking for Colt McCoy, New York City and the Heisman Trophy, and being on primetime TV tonight, next Thursday night against Texas A&M on Thanksgiving, playing like this, I think is going to up his stock immensely with voters across the country. Had his struggles early in the year, but that had a lot to do with people moving positions, not comfortable in their route running, but they're starting to get there now.
Well, this was a short kick, spinner taken at the 15 by Briscoe, and Briscoe bounces outside, makes another tackle, and now here comes a flag in as he brings it all the way to the 40-yard line. And Dwayne Aquina who handles defensive backs and helps out on the special teams, is not going to be real pleased. There have been a lot of yardage in returns.
Holding. Receiving team number 89, 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, let's take a look at tonight's Southwest Airlines playbook.
Play fake, he's going to get flat-footed. And that's exactly what Colt McCoy is looking at on that safety as Williams gets inside and just runs over the top. It's a half a second. If you see that safety, the quarterback, he's not even looking at the running back. He's eyeballing that safety to that side. He saw him flat-footed for half a second and knew he could go over the top of him. Nice read by Colt McCoy.
Tell you, I'm anxious to see what they average up, how much the yardage is now after catch. Jake Sharp goes down hard at the 31 by Shockey Brown. Because it was, what, 192 in the first half? And yards after the catch.
A great read by the quarterback and a good route by Malcolm Williams as well. A young man who'd struggled with dropping the ball earlier in the season has finally, he said, I've stopped thinking so much. And that can be the case. If you get your brain in the way of your hands, you're going to drop some balls.
Racing, look in, got it complete, and that's Wilson. Jonathan Wilson off and running, and is finally going to be tackled by Blake Gideon. And they say, I guess, that he stepped out of bounds at around the 22, but that's a 47-yard gain.
And how well has Todd Reesing played here in the second half? And that's where they're going. You can tell that Kansas thinks Curtis Brown is the guy they can take shots at. And now you get Desmond Briscoe over on that side. Don't be surprised if they test. Well, that's Shockey Brown, over there on Jonathan Wilson. But don't be surprised if they look for Briscoe over on the left.
Reesing now has hit 8 passes in a row. Pumped it. Now goes back. Double pass could be. Kerry Meyer, a former quarterback. Oh, is he upended by Aaron Williams?
Well, Jonathan Wilson just made a great play on that last pass. That time he didn't hear the play. That was going to be a double pass. Kerry Meyer, the former quarterback, caught it and was ready to throw, and Jonathan Wilson never ran his route. He was blocking downfield. When you call that play, usually you say wide receiver screen pass. He must not have heard the pass, but watch Wilson as he goes down the field. He is stock blocking on Brown and never runs his route. Meyer has nowhere to go with it. Just a blown assignment.
Meyer had to pay the price on that hit. Quarterback draw, no place to go. Reesing sacked for the 5th time tonight, back at the 33-yard line. Matt Wider in New York, let's check in with you on the Nebraska game. That's a tough situation against a defense like Nebraska. 3rd down and about half an acre. Pressure again. Reesing just throws it away. Eddie Jones is the man applying the pressure. Eddie Jones is a young guy that jumped up and intercepted a pass at Baylor last week. It took it, 60 yards for a touchdown.
Well, and here comes Brandstetter. He had a 57-yarder with a huge wind at his back against Oklahoma. And this one right at about 50. So it's right at the edge of his range with no wind in sight tonight and a little bit of heavy air. So see if he can get it there.
Brandstetter, a junior out of Lawton, Oklahoma. 50-yard attempt. Kerry Meyer to hold. Yanked it left. No good. Well, with the bounce back last weekend in Phoenix.
Knowing what play had been called, I think really hurt them, because all of a sudden they're moving the ball and then they have just a huge negative play.
Coy rolls the pocket, throws it out to Shipley, and he gets doubled up quickly. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but I happened to be watching the far side of the field, and Jonathan Wilson walked toward the sideline and slapped himself in the headgear because the coaches were telling him, hey, you know.
He didn't hear the tag.
You know, when you blew the play for us.
When you call a play like that, you tag it with pass or something like that.
Meyer, whoa, did he take a shot. Yeah. And there was no place else for Kerry Meyer to go. Little draw play, counter trade to Trey. But Trey Newton's going to pick up the first down. I'm going to say out of bounds at the 46. Chris Harris was there.
Well, it's obvious now that Greg Davis has found a young man in Trey Newton who he really likes. Of course, his father, Nate, an all-pro with the Dallas Cowboys, is an offensive lineman, big 330-pounder. Trey just 6 feet, 200 pounds, but he's very subtle. He doesn't look like he's running fast, but he is. He doesn't look like he's making great moves, but he is.
Great vision.
Yes.
Really good vision. McCoy looking for a spot to run. Finally is down. Get back to the line of scrimmage. Jeff Wheeler finally caught up with him. I think Jeff has done a nice job. He's another one of the Kansas players that is from the state of Texas. Played at down in Houston at Clear Lake, which of course is just down south of the Bayou City.
Minus 9 yards. Of course, part of that was the Meyer tackle behind the line of scrimmage.
McCoy just a little bit off the mark on that pass play.
And Colt McCoy is not happy with what's going on in protection right now. He's gotten angry with his offensive front a couple of different times. That time again, nothing out of the ordinary from Kansas defensively. And as this group goes down the line, if they get to the Big 12 championship, it looks like Nebraska's going to win. They're going to have to step up their game with that front against Nebraska, because Ndamukong Suh, Jared Crick, those guys, if they play like this in that game, they're going to have a tough night.
Third down, and the line to make for the Longhorns is the 44 of Kansas. Here comes blitz off the top of your screen. Gets the pass away. It is caught, sandwiched in between two defenders, and the ball is dropped. So McCoy went down when he threw the ball, and Shipley got sandwiched in between two defenders, and he took a
defense. Number 41 targeting the quarterback. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Boy, Aris Wright. Yeah, the headgear was down. You could see him coming in.
And a huge penalty by Wright, and the right call. You know, he ducked his head. It was at the shoulders or above. It's a defenseless player. And another big mistake by Kansas. They've been doing it time and time again in this 5-game losing streak. Last week it was Thornton on that face mask against Nebraska on that third down.
Pretty play action. Colt telling Williams, give me an ad lib, and now he's just going to go down. Justin Thornton will make the tackle.
Well, Texas offensively is now just take the Williams play out of there, because that was obviously a great play by him and the quarterback, but they just look out of sorts.
Well, they're not trying to run the ball, really.
Yeah.
I mean, last time it had the little counter tray to Newton, but there haven't been a whole heck of a lot of runs in the second half.
And if I'm Mack Brown, I'm telling Greg Davis, let's get the run game going, because we cannot get 12 beat up. Forget all of the records and for the awards. We got a lot of season left.
Trey Newton going to be caught by the ankles, and he goes down at the 36 to Wright again. And I'll tell you the other guy that you certainly cannot afford to lose also, and that's number 8, Jordan Shipley. And he is getting some rude treatment. He did last week, and he has in this ball game tonight. People slinging him down whether he catches the ball or not.
I think so.
I mean, it's a rough sport. I understand that.
And I think this will be a good teaching lesson for Greg Davis in film about relaxing. You get up, you're up 21 points, you feel like you could take your foot off the gas, and you better not. Not with the competition they're going to be playing down the stretch.
McCoy going to run it. And Colt goes down around the 27-yard line. Jake Laptad will get credit for the tackle.
And every time McCoy gets up, he is talking to somebody about what's going on. He is not happy with how the guys up front are playing and how some younger guys are playing.
He has a different way of approaching his fellow teammates, so it's not that he gritches at people. It's more of a come on, but he'll let them know when he's angry.
He's been gritching a couple times tonight, and I don't blame him.
A little reverse. This is Trey Newton. Texas has started doing more of this, running the backs, crossing each other after the ball is snapped. ABC Comedy Wednesday at 9 o'clock, 8 Central. 10th play of the drive coming up. It started back at the 33-yard line, and the clock is all the way down to about 1 minute left in this third quarter. Running play again. This time it is the big guy, Cody Johnson, And Cody will take it for a couple of yards gain. Matt Weiner in New York, let's check with you again. Okay, Matt, our situation, 34-13. We have 20 seconds. That's all we have left in the third quarter. Here comes pressure again. Pass over the middle. And that is Kirkendall. And Kirkendall, who had a 41-yard touchdown back in the first half, nearly got loose on this one. Tackled by Thornton.
And the ball is just barely touching that yellow line of ours. And that thing is always accurate. So we have first down. And fourth quarter, there goes the four fingers. And Texas needs, I think they need to focus in this fourth quarter. I think this is going forward in the season. See if they can focus in and play a little better here in the last set.
2 seconds down to 1, and we head to the final 15 minutes. Texas 34, Kansas 13. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Austin, Texas. Hook 'em horns!
Thanks so much, ladies. So from the University of Texas. And welcome back to Austin, Texas. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Shelley Smith. And we're opening the final 15 minutes of this ball game. Pass thrown a little bit low. And it's because Anye Boulay, the defensive end for Kansas, had come across and done exactly what he's supposed to do and applied some real pressure. Here's a number. Here we go. Here's the play.
A little bit of a flop by McCoy.
Kansas has got 266 yards total offense. Texas 251 yards after the catch. So it's second down and 10. Now they get the ball out to Marquise Goodwin, trying to get that speed on the loose out there in space. And here are the rest of those stats that I just mentioned. You see a 387 total for the Longhorns, and there's the 251 yards after the catch. And I'll tell you, the KU 162 is not bad.
Well, and the stat that's not on there is how many times Colt McCoy's been hit here in the second half. And that's
right.
Something you want to start talking about national championship games. You are going to have to start cleaning that up with some of the groups you're going to play. Von Miller at Texas A&M will be licking his chops looking at this film.
McCoy in the end zone. It looks as though it hit Kirkendall in the wrong spot, maybe in the hand.
Oh, I think Thornton might have gotten a hand in there.
Okay.
He had pretty good coverage. Good throw.
Ooh, it did.
Yeah.
Right off the shoulder pads.
Thornton out there did a nice job of safety trying to cover in the slot. Good job. You know, right there at the last second, he kind of popped it up there.
35-yard field goal attempt coming up right here. Hunter Lawrence got plenty of distance on this one, and he knocks it home. Let's take a break. 14:08 left in our ball game. New score: Texas 37-13. And we are back in Austin, Texas, and the Longhorns now on top, 37-13 over KU. And Justin Tucker prepares to kick it off. Nebraska has wrapped up the North with a victory over K-State. That game just completed up in Lincoln. Here's a kick by Tucker. It's going to be Briscoe from the 2-yard line. Briscoe tripped up as he crosses the 25-yard line. And third person that has just joined us in the booth, this is Brad Edwards, and actually he is the guru as far as having all the input and expertise on the BCS. And folks, that's like having 2 or 3 law degrees, because the BCS is virtually impossible, I think, to follow. You're here in Austin for what? ESPN Radio today?
ESPN Radio, College Game Day, one of the analysts on that. We had a great time, great crowd out there, everybody getting warmed up for this game, and it's a lot of fun.
Good fans down here in the state of Texas. Going to watch this play, and then we'll get you cranked up here talking about what could be. Here's Reesing. Pulls up. Receiver fell down, and there's interception number 7 on the year by Earl Thomas. Thomas looking for a spot to run, got a real big block at the 50-yard line, taking Jonathan Wilson totally out of the play. And there are a couple of people down, one for Texas and one for Kansas. 7 interceptions now for the safety out of West Orange, Stark, down in the Magic Triangle. And you could see Kerry Meyer just fell down.
And remember, you're allowed in college football to have your hands on the receiver if you're next to him or in front of him, as long as the ball's not in the air. And Thomas doing a good job. He read that the whole way. He's such a good athlete that he was actually able to keep his eyes back at Meyer and cover, eyes back on Reesing and cover Meyer at the same time.
You see Wilson, there was really a peel back block. And that one was
Aaron Williams
really hit. And Williams is down. That's Aaron Williams, number 4, starting left cornerback, who is a sophomore from Round Rock, which is a suburb of Austin. You see Thomas very pleased over picking up that interception, number 7, and that's 20.
Game. If Oklahoma State gets into the Fiesta Bowl as a second team from the Big 12, I believe that the other spot that's kind of up for grabs at the moment is going to go to a second team from the Big 10, and that would leave Boise State out. I think for Boise to get in, they need for Oklahoma State to lose at Oklahoma next week.
Well, let's talk about the what if Texas were to lose. I mean, up front, they haven't played great tonight. They're going to play Nebraska, who has as good a defensive lineman and line in the country. If they lose, well, let's check out this play, and we'll come back and talk about that scenario.
McCoy goes on top. Williams, and incomplete. Go ahead.
So if Texas were to lose, and let's assume an SEC team comes out undefeated, what then for a national championship game?
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, Texas is not going to be able to survive a loss, because whether it comes next week against Texas A&M or in that Big 12 championship game, they're not going to have an opportunity to redeem themselves. Let's say Florida or Alabama were to lose. Let's say Alabama lost at Auburn. Having a chance to beat a #1 ranked undefeated Florida team in the SEC championship game would allow them to make amends. Texas won't be able to overcome a loss.
Okay, here's second down. Blitz coming off the corner, and they set up a pass in that direction, and it's Trey Newton. 30, 25, and shoved out of bounds across the way by Dudley.
And so if they can't overcome it, who do you see possibly slipping into the game?
Right now, I think it's a really difficult one to call between TCU and Cincinnati, but I'm pretty sure that one of those two teams would jump over Texas and get in that spot. Now, TCU took care of its business today, impressive win against Wyoming, so they're not going to drop in the polls. They have a big advantage over Cincinnati there, which is very important. It's just a matter of whether Cincinnati can gain ground on TCU over the next few weeks.
Trey Newton's going to take it for about 3 yards.
Do you think that in the computers, because if TCU and Cincinnati end up in a relative tie in the coaches and Harris poll, do you think that the computers would like TCU or Cincinnati better?
The computers are definitely going to like Cincinnati better if they win out, because they can close with that win at Pittsburgh, which would be a huge win for them. And so the question is whether a win like that would have a big impact on the voters.
Second down, and again it's Newton. And Newton's going to be stopped a couple of yards. Go ahead.
Okay, and you know, the one thing with that is that it's important to keep in mind is that TCU finishes its season next week at home against New Mexico. So on December 5th, the day that Cincinnati plays at Pittsburgh, TCU does not play. They're in the clubhouse, so they will not have a chance to respond if Cincinnati puts on an impressive performance. And I think that's what would give Cincinnati a chance to finish ahead of TCU.
Third down, blitz coming from Kansas. They move the pocket. Pass is thrown complete, and forced out of bounds is Jordan Shipley. And that's enough for the first down. Let me ask you this scenario. If Texas goes and plays in the Big 12 championship game and they lose to Nebraska, now we're talking about monetarily as far as the Big 12 conference is concerned. The way I figure it, Texas would not go to the championship game, but they would still be a BCS team, and it would be Nebraska who would go to the Fiesta.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's assuming that Oklahoma State loses next week.
McCoy, touchdown, Kirkendall. So, Brad, like today, both from telephones and also all the fans out there who love to talk and also love to talk bad about the BCS. Here's one more look at it. For all the people that really don't care for the BCS, my way of thinking is I don't think we're anywhere close to having a playoff because of the Presidents and also the Rose Bowl.
And, you know, the system is working too well right now as far as the interest in college football being at an all-time high. The bowl revenue is extremely large, and at this point, if you're the major conferences, which really are in control of the BCS, there's no reason to change.
Okay, don't go anywhere. We're going to take one more break and a couple of more questions when we return. Texas now on top, 44-13. Well, of course, that is the state capitol building here in Austin, built in the late 19th century, and it is sited at one of the very highest points in the city of Austin. And also, it is the largest of all state capitals in the country. And the only capitol building that is larger is that one that is in Washington, D.C.
How come I'm not shocked by that? We are in the state of Texas, right?
Yeah. It looks as though Justin Tucker prepares to kick it off. You know, one of the things that I didn't mention about Justin, he has done a very good job. I told you his granddad was a linebacker at Alabama. His sister is signed with the University of Texas swim team, and she is of international competitive levels. As the kickoff, it is broken open by Briscoe. 50, 40, 30, he's gone. Briscoe is going to take this the distance, and special teams tonight are going to be a thorn in the side of workouts this week, because that one there just went for 98 yards, and the Longhorns have not looked particularly good on special teams.
Well, he broke through this. Excellent blocking. Good finish block there. Steven Johnson, a linebacker, had an excellent block. He finished it. You know, they broke past that first line, but it was Steven Johnson 10 yards in front of Briscoe that made the final block that broke him free.
Extra point is up, and it is good. So we're going to stay right here. And one other thing to mention about Briscoe, not this year, but last year against Oklahoma, to show you what he's capable of against very good competition. If memory serves me correctly, he had 262 yards receiving against the Sooner defense last year.
Yep, Big 12 record. And of course, with all of the issues going on with Mark Mangino and whether he'll be back or not, Desmond Briscoe, you would assume, would look at least dip his toe into the pool of the NFL and see if he doesn't have a chance at the next level, which his skill does.
Let's check in with Matt Weiner in New York City. Matt, our situation is now 44-20 with 11:29 left to play. And that's the 5th longest return in KU history. And the first kickoff return for a touchdown since 2007. Marquise Goodwin. Going to be wrapped up at the 31-yard line. Well, with a bounce-back win last week, and questions for him on what-ifs. Cody Johnson comes back in the ball game for the Longhorns. And they'll hand it to Cody, and he is going to muscle his way forward for about 4th. Brad, let's talk about the fans up there today and the people who call in. What upsets them most about the BCS?
I think the most confusing thing about the BCS to the general fan is the at-large process, and the fact that the most deserving team is not the one that always gets the bid.
And it is about a business decision, what's going to get TV ratings, what's going to bring fans into the building. So let's talk about TCU. I won't go on a limb and say no way they lose to New Mexico, but no way they lose to New Mexico. So they're in because they're in the top 12 automatic. Boise State not guaranteed. What has to happen for Boise State, who I'm sure some people are saying most deserving, what has to happen for them to get an at-large?
Yeah, as we talked about earlier, Oklahoma State is first going to have to lose. And for Oklahoma, if Oklahoma State loses, then what it basically comes down to for Boise State is that they're going to be held up against, provided they go undefeated, they're going to be held up against the loser of the Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game at the end of the year, so basically the Big East runner-up, and conceivably a 9-3 Virginia Tech team. And you look at it on the surface, and you're talking about a Big East team coming off a loss, or a Virginia Tech team that was preseason number 7 that ended up losing 3 times, not winning its division of the ACC. I think Boise gets the nod in that situation.
One more question when we come back. McCoy, little play action, and he goes over the middle, and the ball almost picked off, and it is caught by Shipley. The crowd murmured for a moment. They thought the same thing I did. But they have caught, they have made the catch, and it's good for the first down. I remember Roy Kramer set me down explaining to BCS when it all first happened. Okay, one more play here, and I'll give you the last question. First down at the 43-yard line. Blitz coming up the middle. Play action, and it's out to Shipley, and he's going to go to the 35. Kramer made the point. He said people don't understand. It is not a championship. It's not a playoff. It is getting number 1 against number 2, and the rest of those teams, the chips kind of fall where they may, which sums up what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And it is a business decision, and a whole lot of it has to do with which team is going to sell the most tickets, and secondarily, which one might get the best ratings for the sponsors out there, so the most visibility. And that's what those decisions are based on. And there are a lot of people 2 years ago didn't understand it when Missouri beat Kansas at the end of the regular season, won the Big 12 North, then lost the conference championship game to Oklahoma, and then all of a sudden Kansas gets the bid to the BCS. So it's not even about head-to-head. It's about what the bowl thinks is going to be best for them from a business standpoint.
Quick pass here goes to Williams. Malcolm dragging a tackler with him. Brad Edwards, thank you so much for coming by, my friend. Great seeing you. Always good to visit with you, and thanks for helping straighten out some things here on the Bowl Championship Series.
My pleasure.
It can not only be confusing, it can be rather maddening at times. Cody Johnson off the right side, and he may have a yard, and that's about it. So we have 8 minutes and 37 seconds left to play in our ball game, and the Longhorns with a 24-point lead and driving toward the end zone right now. But Johnson will come to the sideline, and Trey Newton will come back in.
Starting to feel like this should be Garrett Gilbert time, the true freshman quarterback who coincidentally took over at Lake Travis High School when Todd Reesing left. But you start to feel like this should be his time to get in here and get a little mop-up time.
Here comes a blitz off the corner, picked up nicely. Here goes Newton. Newton cuts it back into the middle, and he'll have the first down plus about 5 more yards. Thornton on the stop. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
Well,
Colton Shipley, 32 of 41. 10 receptions for Shipley tonight. 108 yards, 4 touchdowns for McCoy, and 1 touchdown for Shipley. McCoy going to go down at the 19-yard line. It's Arist Wright.
And I think this is why I may not be the only one who thinks Garrett Gilbert, the true freshman, should be in there, because this offensive line has not played great tonight. And you're in a position, Jordan Shipley now, single season school record, 1,204 yards, and still got a few games to go. Texas A&M, the Big 12 championship, and a bowl game, maybe the national championship game.
11th play of the drive coming up. Newton, nothing left, going to take it right. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Texas Longhorns. Did he step out of bounds?
Didn't look like it.
Okay, one of the officials has stopped and put a foot down at the 5. And now the signal touchdown is given. Yilotowski, very good block on the play.
What balance. What balance. That left foot kept it in there. And that's what we were talking about, how subtly fast he is. I think Darrell Stuckey took a bad angle because he didn't realize how fast Newton was really running. He just doesn't. He runs so smoothly, he doesn't look like he's gaining as much ground as he is.
Hunter Lawrence with the extra point attempt, and he's got it. So with 7:01 left in our ball game, let's take one more look. Trey Newton, the redshirt freshman out of South Lake Carroll. And we are back as they tap out on Big Bertha, the number of points scored for the Longhorns, which is now 51. And Mike Tollison, who actually is over the special teams, he's the coordinator. He kept that kickoff team over on the sideline for a pretty good while. And I have a feeling he was saying, well, this time we better make a tackle, guys. They're going to kick it on the ground. They're not going to kick it to Briscoe.
Can't blame him.
And the tackle made at the 37 on Justin Springer. Well, ESPN's Monday Night Football. Vince Young leads the revived Titans against Andre Johnson and company. Titans and the Texans on ESPN Monday night, 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern.
I know that the Texas fans haven't forgotten this, but Colt McCoy going for his 43rd win in his career. Started for 4 years. I think some people around the country may have forgotten that he was the guy who immediately succeeded Vince Young because he's been the starter for so long.
Well, running play goes straight ahead. This is Rel Lewis on the carry. You know, we talked to Colt, and we talked to him about when he came in from a small school like Tuscola. What was his first meeting like with the head coach, Mack Brown? And this is what he was told.
I sat down in Coach Brown's office before my freshman year, before I was going to be the starting quarterback, and said, you know, what do I need to do to win this job and to be your quarterback? And, you know, he said, you got to win. He said, you got to find a way to win.
Well, the young man has done just that, as this play is going to go incomplete. Beery.
And it's interesting.
Well, it is complete. I beg your pardon. I thought, well, yeah, he signaled incomplete. Sorry.
Colt McCoy, 70.9%. If he finishes above 70% for his career, it'll be the first time ever in college football history that someone has had a 70% career completion percentage. And I know that he's not rated up there on a lot of the draft boards with the Jake Locker, Sam Bradford type guys. If I'm a second or third round team,
and I need pass, please reset the game clock to 6 minutes.
You were correct.
15 seconds.
Didn't think it was complete. You know what a scout told me at halftime, and I found this really interesting. He said, even though he is a redshirt freshman, and it won't happen, but Andrew Luck at Stanford, if he came out this year, he'd be the first quarterback taken.
Well, I would, if I were in that second, third round, I'd like Colt McCoy. If you had a guy, if you had a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees or a Peyton Manning to put him behind for 3 or 4 years, I think he'd come in, learn it, take it over as soon as that guy left.
Pressure, and the pass thrown away. Let's check in with Matt Weiner again. What's the flag?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw loss of down. So intentional grounding called on that last play. Of course, that's loss of down. And now the discussion goes on. They still show first down over there. I thought it would be second down. Maybe I'm interpreting wrong.
So, fourth down. Here we go.
Yeah, they corrected it.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't fourth down. I mean, certainly wasn't first down. So it's a loss of third down. Looks like Earl Thomas is the deep man this time. Here's the kick. Another good coverage kick. Thomas at the 25. Takes it back up the middle, big lane, hang on. Got a move on the punter, and he got just enough of him to slow him down, and the tackle made by Thornton. Let's take a timeout. 5:52 left in our ball game. Well, this was just a second ago, and it looks as though the head coach is telling Mr. McCoy that he is about to play his last game in that uniform in this stadium. And the ovation that he got when he came back out on the field. Well, guess what? One play and then he's going to come out?
I would assume so, and I would think that this is a handoff.
Now, timeout has been called by Texas.
Of 2009.
So it looks as though all of the seniors are going to come out en masse. And a standing ovation here from the 101,000 people at Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium.
And a very classy move by Mack Brown. Send him out there. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, wait, Colt's not going to play anymore, is he? I think he'd want him out. Nice, classy move.
You know who's coming in? Rather than Garrett Gilbert, it's Sherrod Harris, who's a junior. He's out of Bowie High School in Arlington, Texas. And they're going to give him an opportunity to get some snaps in this ball game. He's 6'3", 215, and a junior.
Well, and I think the conversation turns now. Colt McCoy, of course, this game looking like it's in the books, now becoming the winningest.
Now Gilbert is going into the ball game. Have not still seen. Has Sherrod come out of the ball game? I guess not. No. Number 3, Garrett Gilbert, the freshman out of Lake Travis High School, the same one that, of course, Todd Reesing went to. He comes in the running play to Fozzie Whitaker. And Fozzie will take it for a couple of yards gain.
And so when you look at that Heisman hopeful list, there was that middle part of the season where the offense was struggling for Texas, and some people, I think, got off the McCoy bandwagon. But I think that's going to start changing right now. I think with tonight's win, impressive.
There's some people that disagree with this, but when you have this kind of consistency, to have 4 10-win seasons in your career, and you wind up becoming the winningest, starting quarterback in NCAA, that's got to account for something. And there are other people say, well, some of these other guys left early, and that is true. But this person stayed on for the duration, was patient. Hey, Peyton Manning did it, and he did it because he got enough advice from people that said, hey, don't go to the next level yet. It's continue to have fun. When you get up there, it's work.
And part of the problem for Colt McCoy is the guy Jordan Shipley we just showed having such a great year. Some of the votes in this region particularly might go toward Shipley. He's got 2 punt returns for touchdown. He's now the single season leading receiver in yardage for Texas in their history. He's having a pretty good season himself.
Whitaker may have picked up the first down. In fact, I think he did at the 14-yard line. Well, stay tuned for the Ford wrap-up after the game with scores and highlights from around the country. The Ford wrap-up.
Now, just to put a button on that Heisman talk, to me, I am a voter. I'm far from deciding, but you look at Mark Ingram down in Alabama, had that fumble against Tennessee. That's tough for me to overlook. I don't know that any of the guys didn't have a moment there in the earlier middle part of the season that made me feel like, not sure if that's the guy. Now getting to see Colt play, this is the first time we've seen him in person. Kansas is not one of the best defenses in the country. I understand that, but still, the efficiency that he's playing, his last 4 games, he's up near 80% completion. And he's now back to with losing Quan Cosby, losing Collins, all that's back. He's over that now.
Vondrell McGee turns the corner out of bounds at around the 10-yard line. So let's update the standings with the Northern Division that Nebraska won an 8-3 overall, 5-2 in the conference, and they will play the Big 12 championship game against the University of Texas. We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds left, and Texas, of course, 7-0 in conference play and 11-0 overall. Now, movement up front, so 5 yards is going to be stepped off, and you see Hall, Chris Hall, the senior center out of Irving.
Chris Hall had a great compliment this week. Of course, he's a part of the 05 class, the 5th-year seniors that were freshmen with the Vince Young gang that won the national championship, and the seniors on that. And he said, we learned so much from that class about how to be leaders. There's only 5 guys left from that 2005 class. Colt McCoy, Roderick Muckleroy, but Hall gave a good doff of the cap this week to that 2005 senior class and said, we were lucky we were here to learn from them because they were great leaders.
Well, straight ahead with the handoff, and it's going to bring up a 4th down. Major Applewhite is, of course, a former great quarterback here on the 40 acres, but he is the running backs coach for the Texas Longhorns right now. And he made an interesting statement yesterday. He was just talking about Reesing and what he has had to go through this season with all the ups and downs and what have you. And Major said, look, you know, people in the state of Kansas need to understand. Reesing has done for KU the same thing that Colt McCoy has done for the Texas Longhorns. And he said that shouldn't be overlooked. That has to stand for a lot. Running play right up the middle. He's close to the first down, but I don't think he made it on fourth down. Bondrell McGee with the carry.
And I think you could even go a step further, because remember, Colt McCoy came in taking over for a national championship winning quarterback. Todd Reesing came to a place that had virtually no football history. Yeah. They've gone to back-to-back bowl games. Mark Mangino said this to Shelley Smith for the first time in school history, and one of those was a win in a BCS bowl game. You know,
don't forget one other thing. You know, when you appraise talent coming out of high school, a lot of people look at, you know, the size school that you come from, what have you, as Texas calls the timeout. But, you know, on Colt McCoy, folks, there are 5 classifications in the state of Texas. And he comes from a 2A school in a little town. It was a consolidated school, but the town, 714 people. And the point is, they saw so many things, and in doing their due diligence, they said not only did he have great athletic ability, his leadership qualities were above and beyond. And they said, hey, kid, you're not taking a chance on a kid like this. Well, hello, 4 years later, after a redshirt year, they have proven their point, and somebody really did their due diligence well.
And the very first guy to go out to celebrate with his teammates on the defense,
Lamar Houston.
Colt McCoy. What a nice scene.
Ben Alexander also coming off, number 92, won the basketball shooting.
I was going to say, let's not forget that. On Thursday's practice, he hit the winning Moneyball shot.
Well, Lewis, the ball carrier. So, with 2:05 and counting, 51-20 the score, Colt McCoy tonight has become the winningest starting quarterback in the history of NCAA football. David Green, of course, from Georgia, and of course Peyton Manning from the Tennessee Volunteers were the two gentlemen closest to him. This is Lewis. Skirts to the outside, gets out of bounds at around the 28-yard line.
And I hate to be the one to have to throw a wet blanket on what is a great night for Texas, but across the way, an incredibly difficult week for Mark Mangino and his staff. Of course, he's under investigation for how he has allegedly mistreated players. It's not looking like he's going to be able to survive and may have to be replaced by Lou Perkins, the athletic director. And the ironic thing is, we were just talking about that Orange Bowl 2 years ago. Whoever the next guy is coming into a place that is better than it's ever been in Kansas history. So it'd be tough. If some of those things did happen, I can totally understand why they'd have to get rid of them. Difficult recruiting. Don't know that you'll be able to recover from it. But you do have to give Mark Mangino some credit and say that this place is a whole different place than when he got here in 2002. If, in fact, as we all suspect, he may be relieved of his duties as head coach.
That last gentleman that just caught the pass, Kerry Meyer, if you don't know his story, it's a heck of a story. Came as a quarterback and was the starter until the young man who's receiving the snap right now came in, and Todd Reesing became the starter. And Kerry Meyer, rather than pouting and acting like a selfish person, went to his head coach and said, look, I want to contribute. I want to play on this football team. Tell me what I can do. Became a wide receiver and has become a very accomplished wide receiver, I think.
Yeah, all-time leading receiver at Kansas, and another guy who, because of a position change, it's kind of like Lamar Houston, Texas, going from end to tackle, who now probably gets a much better look at the next level because of that position change.
That's a heck of a defensive play right there, and that is Dion Beasley. Let me say one other thing about Lamar. If for the success that the defense has had, you can lay it at his feet, because he's the one that the coaches called in and said, it is up to you. If you can be good, we can be good. We are so thin in that area, and you got to come through for us. And boy, he took it to heart, and has he ever done it?
It was funny talking to Lamar yesterday as a Texas player is down on the 45.
You know, Lamar is now 300 pounds. When he came to Texas, he came as a running back. And
that's why he wears 33. Wouldn't give that up.
He would not give up the number. And, folks, the interesting thing is, I said, what was the best ball game you ever had, Lamar? And he said, I had 333 yards in a ball game. Well, I think he said he scored 5 touchdowns. He said, the bad thing, we got beat.
Well, and he was a linebacker. And that
looks like cramps.
Mm-hmm. And that is Clark Ford. They're down into the 3 deep now. Ford not even listed in their 2 deep. But to finish that story for Lamar Houston, he was playing linebacker in that same game. He said, yeah, I scored 5 touchdowns running. I had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, but the play that lost the game, a toss sweep, went about 80 yards. He said an offensive lineman that was about 5'7" cracked back on me and just completely decleated me, and I got to watch the guy run in for the winning touchdown. At least he was honest.
And then the coach told him as he came to the sideline, he said, the guy that just ran by you. Anyway, I won't mention the name of the school, but a very small school. He said, that's where he's going to school. You'll never make it at the University of Texas.
And, of course, now the Big 12 championship is set, and Texas, last thing on their minds, going into a short week and then have to travel down to College Station. And let's not forget what happened the last time Texas went to College Station in 2007. Dennis Franchione, there was a cloud over whether he was going to come back or not. They snuck up and beat Texas, heavy favorites in that game, Texas was, and they lost 38-30. So they are not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination.
16 seconds. And it's Lewis with another running play, and that should be the final play of the ball game. 10 seconds, down to 9. And senior night 2009 will go in the record books as a 51-20 win by the Texas Longhorns. Over 100,000 in attendance tonight to see this ball game. And you see the 2 quarterbacks coming together, Reesing and Colt McCoy visiting at midfield. And now the 2 head coaches. Mack whispering something in his ear, and Colt McCoy coming over to say something to the embattled head coach of the Kansas Jayhawks. And Shelley is down on the field. We're going to try to, before we exit here, get an interview with Colt McCoy. You can see taking time, very classy move for Colt to come over and talk to the head coach. And let's go down to Shelley.
You and Mac shared a fun moment before that you came out of the game. What were you guys laughing about?
He just told me congratulations on winning however many games I've won, and couldn't have done it without my teammates, and I told him he was the greatest coach ever.
How emotional was it for you tonight running out on this field for a last time?
Well, I just wanted to come out and play the best I can. That's every time I get on the field, that's what I want to do. And I thank the good Lord for 4 years of staying healthy and just having the opportunity to play with great teammates, great coaches, and I couldn't be more proud of the guys, and I'm so happy.
All right, you guys put up 51 points, but there were times you looked like you were unhappy with your offensive line. What was going on there?
Well, just challenging them to be the best. You know, we want to be a championship team. And sometimes we were inconsistent offensively, but you know, as a quarterback, you kind of got to get after those guys a little bit. It's all in love. I love those guys to death. They played great tonight. So going to enjoy this, but only got 5 days to get ready for the Aggies.
Yeah, and you know how tough it is playing out there.
It's tough. We'll be ready.
All right. Thanks, Colt. Back to you guys.
Shelley, thanks so much. Once again, our final score, 51-20. Texas winning over KU. And now for Ed Cunningham and Shelley Smith, I'm Ron Franklin, saying so long from Austin, Texas. Now let's go to John Saunders in the Times Square for the Ford Wrap-Up Show. John, along with Jesse Palmer. Gentlemen, take it away.